Trustee Madej?
Present.
Trustee Dunham?
Sure.
Trustee Sullivan?
Present.
Trustee Conley? Present. Trustee Kozak?
Here.
President Larson?
Here. I would now ask the board to welcome Boy Scouts of
Yeah, no, we're going to do the public hearing. We won't do the Boy Scouts until the regular board meeting.
That's
So
fine.
this is
call the meeting
actually,
order. Would the clerk please call the roll? New business?
we got the roll.
Right.
And so this is a public hearing prior to the regular village board meeting, published for that purpose. The purpose of this public hearing this evening is for the village board to consider an annexation and annexation agreement for property located at 1599 East Old Church Road, Streamwood, Illinois, which is actually unincorporated, generally located at the southwest corner of Old Church Road and Barrington Road. And for those of you who are here on related development matters, this public hearing is only about the annexation itself and the annexation agreement. And before public comment is taken as part of the public hearing process, I would ask Julie Fitzgerald, our Community Development Director, to briefly summarize what is at issue.
Please proceed.
The proposed annexation is an annexation of a parcel located in unincorporated Cook County. It is roughly 1 acre in size, located at the southwest corner of Old Church Road and Barrington Road. There are 2 ordinances on the agenda for the regular village board meeting related to this. Those aren't to be acted on, as Mr. Molina said, during the public hearing. The purpose of this is to take comment during the public hearing. One of those is the ordinance to approve the annexation. The other one is the ordinance to approve the annexation agreement. The property, like I said, is approximately 1 acre in size. All the required public notice requirements and mailings were done per the state statute. And so unless you have any questions, that concludes my presentation. The development approvals are on the regular agenda. They have already been through a public hearing with the Zoning Board of Appeals. And like I said, those minutes and that information is in your regular board packet.
Councilor?
Now is time for anyone in the public who wishes to make comment about this matter, the annexation and the annexation agreement, to acknowledge, to request to be heard.
Please proceed. Come forward, identify yourself for the record, and hold forth.
If you just sign in, your name and address, so you could be properly in the minutes.
Hi, my name is Mindy Algis. I'm from Arlington Heights, Illinois. I'm here because my daughter has property next to this lot that's being developed, and we have some concerns about the drainage. And you mentioned that was just about the annexation and not about the drainage that I can make comments about, or?
Correct. It doesn't involve drainage.
Okay, when would we make those comments if we have concerns about drainage and other nuisance issues?
Well, a couple of things. Drainage itself is really more part of the building permit process rather than zoning, but it would be more appropriate under the matters when they're at the regular village board meeting that relate to the development itself.
Okay, I was told that we could comment about it now and before final consent was approved.
No one's stopping you.
Oh, okay. Well, there are some concerns about the lot itself and the requirements that currently were by the WMRD, and that was instituted in 2014. There's going to be stormwater storage areas that I don't think are going to be adequate to accommodate the storm flows of the current rainfalls that we're having. There's 2 for the Little Sunshine drain. There's 2 for Little Sunshine. One is 13 feet wide by 80 feet long by 3.5 deep, and the other's 20 foot wide by 130 long by 3.5 deep. And they're going to be draining into existing sewers with a 6-inch pipe. So if it can't accommodate it, where would the water be going? There's a lot of, this was originally a residential zoning, and there's townhouses surrounding the entire lot. And when there's runoff and it can't accommodate it, it's going to create other flooding for the surrounding homes is our concern. The other concern is that there's going to be a privacy fence around the the structures of Sunshine Daycare and Andy's Custard. And there are going to be about 400 to 500 cars going in and out of that property every day. And their headlights entering and leaving the property are in direct line with some of the homeowners' properties. So it creates a nuisance. So we would like to have an extension of the fence, so it's 20 feet from the right-of-way, so that won't create a constant nuisance for the homeowners. And then the Andy's Custard still also has one drainage storm water storage area, and I don't think that that will accommodate the runoff as well. There's already flooding in that area in the northwest corner of the Maribel properties. So I'm wondering if that can be reevaluated to take into consideration the heavier rainfalls that we're experiencing now? Is that something up?
We're only taking
We're
public
just
comment
taking
now.
comments? Okay, and who would we talk to further about any of this, or it's a done deal?
Well, you make your comment, and then the board will decide how to discuss it at a later time, if they would like to.
A later time being today or
Could
next?
be, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Further comments, public comments are in order.
Question. Lance,
Trustee Sullivan.
this isn't presently in Schaumburg. This is
Correct.
unincorporated at this time.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
And for the record,
Trustee Conley.
this is not a forcible annexation.
No.
The owners of the property have come to the village of Schaumburg and asked to be annexed.
Correct.
Thank
This is part of a large, the development itself is bigger than this parcel, but this parcel is not incorporated, and the property owner, represented by Mr. Frank, do wish to be incorporated.
Thank you.
Trustee Madey.
Yeah, I think her inquiries are pretty much in the zoning board of appeals on the consent agenda for tonight's meeting.
Correct.
So we can look into it that way. or
Correct.
Discuss it then.
Further comments, questions?
Okay, if there's no
All
further
right,
comment.
Hearing none, then a motion to adjourn the public hearing is in order.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded with the clerk poll the board.
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Conley.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madey.
Aye.
Trustee Daly.
6 aye votes, no nays, motion carries.
The public hearing is closed. Now our clerk needs to switch recording some devices, if not devices, at least how it's being recorded, and we can call the regular meeting to order.
Call the meeting to order with the clerk.
Wait, one more second.
Village Board meeting, Tuesday, September 11th, 2018.
Okay.
All in favor?
No, call it to order.
Call the meeting to order.
Take the rule.
Will the clerk please poll the board?
Trustee Kozak. Here. Trustee Conley.
Here.
Trustee Sullivan.
Present.
Trustee Dunham.
Here.
Trustee Madey.
Present.
Trustee Daly. President Larson.
Here. All present accounted for. This time, a motion to give
Scouts.
Boy Scout Troop 392 are here to post the colors and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Color guard, attention. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, halt. Please post the colors. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Hand over mark or scout salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color guard, up, out, face. Retreat by rank. Color guard, halt. Color guard, dismiss with our thanks. You may now be seated.
Troops, Scouts, I have badges for you. We have, that's it?
They're coming.
They're coming.
All right. I'm sorry, time expired. No. Thank you. Yeah, here you go.
Thank you.
Holy smokes, here. You're welcome. Thank you. Here you go.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes of August 28th is in order.
So moved.
Second?
Moving and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. You have a list of bills for approval and
Move to approve the expenditures as presented.
Second.
move the second to approve the expenditures as presented. Will the clerk please poll the board?
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Conley.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madey.
Aye.
Trustee Daly.
6 ayes, votes no nays, motion carries. We have a request from Harlan Powell for one Class A liquor license for City Works Entry and Pour House located at on Gulf Road. New licensee, is someone here representing?
Good evening.
Tell us what you have in mind for that location.
Thank you very much. My name is Harlan Powell. I'm here on behalf of Bottleneck Group. They're the umbrella restaurant organization that is seeking the license for CityWorks Eatery. The concept itself is essentially upscale American food, burgers, salads, ribs, that sort of thing, in a sort of sports-friendly environment. Craft beers sourced locally. So you'd be seeing a lot of the Chicagoland area beers on tap. This would be, I believe, the third such location nationally. While the Bottleneck Group started originally in the city of Chicago with a variety of different restaurants in the downtown area, they've since expanded into some suburban locations and then started their first city eatery, I believe, in Pittsburgh. And they have 2 or 3 in Pennsylvania now, and they're looking to sort of come back home and bring that concept to the Chicagoland area. This would be the first location in Illinois that bears the city eatery brand.
Questions from the board? Trustee Kozak.
What building is this going into?
This is at 1850 East Gulf Road.
Is that a new building?
Hyatt?
In
Front of the Hyatt.
the front of the Hyatt?
I believe
Oh,
it is,
okay,
yes.
now I know where you're
Living
going.
room.
Okay. It's the expansion, okay, thank you.
Further questions, comments from the board? Any objections from the board? And you want to pick up the necessary paperwork from the Liquor Commissioner's office to be background checked by the police department. Positive response on that, as well as evidence that you paid the appropriate fee. A license will be issued.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time.
And village clerk.
Yes. Are you going to read the,
A motion to,
You gotta read the little thing about the consent agenda, and then turn it over to them.
you have attached the regular agenda. Consent agenda will take one motion from the village board to approve all the items on the consent agenda. If someone has a concern about an item or would like to discuss it further, please indicate to me. We'll take it from the consent agenda and discuss it under committee reports. And now I'll turn the microphone over to the competent, wonderful village clerk.
the consent agenda. Number 1, correspondence. The motion would be to approve the request from the Schaumburg Area Democratic Organization to hold a raffle on October 14th at Chandler's Chop House Schaumburg Golf Club, 401 North Roselle Road, and to waive the fidelity bond requirement. 2, liquor licenses. A, the motion would be to approve the request from Mr. James Schuschler of the Schaumburg Firefighters Benevolent Association for one Class D one-day liquor license for the annual charity softball tournament on Saturday, September 15th, 2018, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Olympic Park on Martingale Road and Schaumburg Road, waived fee. 3, proclamations. A, Caravan Awareness Month, October 20th, 2018. B, Arts DuPage Month, October 2018. 4, Transportation Committee. The motion would be to approve participation in the Northwest Municipal Conference Suburban Purchasing Cooperative Contract Number 152 and 154 and approve issuance of a purchase order to Curry Motors Fleet of Frankfort, Illinois for the purchase of 16 2019 Ford Utility AWD Interceptors and 2 2019 Ford Interceptor sedans in a total amount of $554,035.70. B, the motion would be to approve amendment number 1 for the Meacham Road and Algonquin Road intersection improvements. Phase 2 engineering services in the amount of $104,611.23 with the Trans System Corporation of Schaumburg, Illinois, and approve the required resolution. C, the motion would be to adopt as ordinance repealing Title IX, Chapter 109A, Operation of Drones in its entirety. 5, Zoning Board of Appeals. The motion would be to approve a final plat of subdivision, lot size variation, lot width variation, lot coverage variation, off-street parking variation, and buffer yard variations for 17 South Roselle Road, former Easy Street. B, the motion would be to The motion would be to approve a site plan approval, new construction rezoning from R1 to B2 upon annexation, special use for a type C restaurant, special use for a drive-through, setback variation, landscape variation, drive-through stacking variation, drive-through hours variation, variation for an additional menu board, and plat of easement for Andy's Frozen Custard, 390 North Barrington Road.
Mr. President, can we pull that for discussion, please?
I think for the sake of facilitating this, items B and C
And C.
to be pulled as long as as well as the accompanying ordinances under, which I think would apply to, Lance, help me out here.
Yeah, it would be E and F under 8.
So just to clarify, it's items B and C under 5 and items E and F under number 8.
Correct.
Okay, C, which is being pulled, is to approve the request from Schaumburg Area Democratic, excuse me, wrong page.
We're on 5C.
Yes, I know. The motion, pulling the item approval, a site plan approval, new construction rezoning from R6 PUD to B2, special use for a daycare facility, setback variation, landscape variation, and plat of easement for Little Sunshine's Playhouse and Preschool, 370 North Barrington Road. 7, Electrical Commission. The motion would be to approve the waiver by special permission with the conditions of the Electrical Commission to Chapter 152, 712G4 of the Municipal Electric Code for Viridian Apartments located at 2200 Progress Parkway. 7, resolutions. The motion would be to adopt as Resolution 18-086, authorizing amendment number 1 with Trans System Corporation for the Meacham Road and Algonquin Road intersection improvements project, Phase 2 engineering services, an increase of $104,611.23. 8, ordinances. The motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance 18-101, approving an annexation agreement by and among the Village of Schaumburg, Cook, and DuPage Counties, Illinois, and Garcia 1 LLC for the property located at 1599 East Church Road, Schaumburg, Illinois, for 60107. The motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as
1802.
where am I at? And adopt as Ordinance 18-103, repealing title.
102. First one was 101.
Okay, I'm sorry. 102, annexing certain territory located at 1599 East Old Church Road, Streamwood, Illinois, 60107 to the Village of Schaumburg, Illinois, Garcia 1 LLC. C, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as repealing title ordinance 18-103, repealing Title 9, Chapter 109A, operation of drones in its entirety. D, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance 18-104, granting a final plat of subdivision, lot size variation, lot width variation, lot coverage variation, off-street parking variation, and buffer yard variation for 17 South Roselle Road, former Easy Street. E is being pulled, which is granting a site plan approval, new construction rezoning from R1 to B2 upon annexation, special use for a type C restaurant, special use for a drive-through setback variation, landscape variation, drive-through stacking variation, drive-through hour variation, variation for an additional menu board, and plat of easement for Andy's Frozen Custard, 390 North Barrington Road. F is being pulled, which is granting a site plan approval, new construction rezoning from R6 PUD to B2, special use for a daycare facility, setback variation, landscape variation, and plat of easement for Little Sunshine's Playhouse and Preschool, 370 North Barrington Road. This concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you. So motion's in order to approve the consent agenda as presented, with the exceptions as noted.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Pull the board.
No.
Hold the board, please.
Trustee Kozak. Trustee Conley.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Daly.
Aye.
6 ayes, votes no nays, motion carries. Comments from the audience?
Committee reports.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
No, we did that. Now we just need to.
Committee reports.
So we have one is on the agenda, and then after that, we'll need to take up the iguns that were tabled from the consent agenda.
Which
So
one was it?
First up is,
Still have a patio in the side yard,
is a variation.
154 Thacker Street. A motion's in order?
No, we want to hear from
Oh,
staff.
well, yes.
Julie, could you just give us an overview of this, and then we'll also ask.
Yeah, Mr. Scipione from the Plan Commit is also here representing the Plan Commission.
We want to hear from both of you.
Great. The variation is for a patio in the side yard. The house is located on Thacker. Staff recommended approval of the variation. There was a motion to approve after public comment and hearing and conversation amongst the Plan Commission at the hearing. The motion failed to carry. It was a vote of 4-3. So that's why this is under committee reports tonight. Even though a majority 4 voted in favor of the motion to approve, motion requires a majority of the members of the commission to approve, which would be 5. So that's why you're seeing this tonight under committee reports. It's for a patio in the side yard. There is an addition, or not an addition, there's kind of a little area that juts off the side of the house in the side yard on what would be the left-hand side of the property as you're looking at it from the street. Staff supported this variation based on a few factors, the first of which is that this is located in a subdivision that has a detention basin located just to the east of this lot. There's actually it's actually half on this lot and half on the adjacent lot. And there, on this lot, there's a 40-foot easement for detention, and there's a 40-foot easement for detention on the adjacent lot. So there's roughly an 80-foot detention area between the building area for this lot and the building area to the lot to the east. And so this isn't a typical side yard situation where you have, in Schaumburg, it's typically roughly 15 or 20 feet between properties. This was a much larger area, and it is deed restricted between the houses, and you can't build between it. The front yard, the patio is also quite far from the yard. It was located about 50 feet from the front property line and proposed to be 76 feet from the street. So those were some of the reasons that staff supported the variation. Mr. Scipione is here, and the property owner is also here, and I believe has some information that he desires to provide.
The petitioner care to
It's here for the Land Commission.
Well,
Good evening. We can, basically what Julie said, we concur with. There was a 4-3 vote, motion in favor. We were missing one member. Vice Chairman Utley and myself voted in the 3 aspect. And some of the issues that we were talking about with staff was front yard versus side yard. And Vice Chairman Utley and I had an opinion of because of the indentations of the lot, it seemed like it was a front yard. However, per code, staff informed us it was a side yard, so that's how we, side yard addition, that's how the 4-3 vote came about.
Question, comments from the board? Trustee Conley.
I guess I would be in favor of this if there was something that precluded having a patio in the backyard. If the land dropped off, because there is some creek and water and stuff back there, if the land dropped off and that was impossible and things like that. But under the circumstances, I understood that business about side yard, front yard, which is it? But what bothers me is this is clearly visible from the front as you drive by. And I assume it's not going to be empty. It's going to have patio furniture, kids' toys, other things that's there. And I would see it a hardship if the person couldn't put any kind of patio in their backyard, but they can easily put a patio. It's a large backyard. So I'm not convinced that this meets the criteria of requiring this kind of a variance.
Further questions, comments from the board? Trustee Daly.
So according to the minutes, the petitioner has confirmed that he would be putting a patio in the rear yard as well. So you're actually looking at both locations for a patio.
Right.
But I think the petitioner should answer that question.
Further questions, comments from the board?
Yeah, hi, my name is George Ushana. I own the property that...
Sorry, a little louder, please.
my name is George Ushana, and I am the owner of the property that I am applying for a variation. I need to give you a copy of what I am proposing to do. Probably is going to give you a better picture for what I intended to do.
Thank you.
We'll share.
Yeah, if you don't, we'll share.
I don't need one.
Thank you.
That's comprehensive.
Well, what I think this will add value to my house, and I really like to have it. And at the same time, our custom, when I have guests, men and women, we intend to separate. The men will be on one side and the women on one side, and this will give me the opportunity to entertain my guests without having to have them together. And I know, but none of my neighbor is close to my property. At least the closest one is almost 150 feet away. And I sent mails to all my neighbors around, and none of them seems to have a problem with it. And I think, again, this will add value to my property, and I really hope that you're going to agree with me on being able to have this patio.
Further questions, comments? Trustee Daley?
So just a clarification.
Yes.
According to looking at this, here is your side house, or here is the extension that's off the side of your house. So your door is over here, and you would basically have some sort of,
No, I'm behind this patio also, it's a house here.
okay, so I'm a little confused. I don't know if anybody else is, so.
My house is goes all the way.
Goes all the way around?
What part of that is here?
Wow, actually,
Here. So it's gonna be here, probably it's gonna be sitting here.
This is going to be here.
Yes.
And this comes around to the side.
No, you just get a permit for patio.
I'm confused.
That's not.
So, sure, you can draw right on here. Let me, if I may, sorry. I just need to make sure I understand. Here you go. Draw as you need to. It shows the patio right here, and that's the side piece, right?
No, I have, this is part of the building.
Right. Yeah, okay. 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 Sure, so where is this though? Okay, but this shows, so,
Exciting stuff here, huh?
yeah, can you hang on one second until we get clarification? The way this shows here and the way this shows here is as if this is going to come out and sit over here. Okay?
In the backyard.
Oh, so what, do I got it wrong? Oh, so that's what I needed to have. Thank you very much. Okay. Yes, okay, I understand. All right. So this is how you should be looking at it.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the way I was.
This is.
Thank you very much.
Further questions, comments from the board?
So is it,
Oh, yes.
Tom, your understanding the sidewalk that's shown there will lead from the front of the house around to the side
Right,
yard?
so that's the front of the house. It leads back to the patio that in effect shows on the drawing.
And the patio is like 75 feet away from the street.
There's no path showing on the plans, but
There doesn't have to be.
it doesn't have to, right?
Right. That'd be something we'd review as part of the permit
Well,
application.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions, comments from the board?
Well,
Trustee Conlon?
I spoke in opposition for this, but it looks like you're going to have 3 feet, I'm guessing, 3 feet or so of landscaping on both sides of this.
Yes.
And you intend to even put landscaping, lilacs and
Yes,
boxwood are so rather big, that would even go around the sidewalk.
yes,
And then you wouldn't see it from the house if you
No.
maintain that landscaping.
yes.
Again, I certainly don't see a hardship, which was one of the things that's called for in a variance, but that at least helps mitigate the view from the front.
And I am like 75 feet away from the street,
Yeah.
you know.
You could make the landscaping a condition
We could make
if
it
you
a
were
condition.
inclined.
Because
yeah.
it's not, I mean, you having a slab of concrete 75 feet from the street doesn't bother me at all. But what bothers me is on the side of houses, when people pile a bunch of stuff. So if there's, now, you're an older gentleman, but you could have grandchildren. So if this ended up having playhouses on it and teeter-totters and all kinds of stuff from the street, it becomes a very messy situation. If we make the landscaping, that it has to be landscaping at least 3 to 4 foot tall around it, then I'm comfortable supporting it.
Yes. I
Further
am
questions,
intending to
comments?
have landscaping around it, yes.
Yeah, because you want some privacy sitting
Yes.
there too.
You want to repeat that, trustee Conley, or some side conversation, they might have missed it?
Well, I was saying initially, I said I couldn't support it because I didn't think there was a hardship since you can put a good-sized patio in the backyard. I think the parcel is unique because of the wide amount of space and the unbuildable land. And I'm more comfortable if we would allow this with a stipulation in the zoning or in the variance that it would require to be screened by 3 to 4 foot high hedges around the patio. Then I could support it.
Trustee Daley?
So I would concur with that. I, like Marge, don't like the side yard variation, but I think, provided all that is accommodated, I don't have any objection to it.
So
Further comments?
So,
Trustee Kozak?
Does the petitioner go along with the shrubbery and everything on the, enclosing the patio with the shrubbery? You go along with that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So if that's the desire of the people speaking in favor, the motion would be to reject the recommendation from the Plan Commission to waive first reading and to adopt as ordinance number 18-105.
4.
It's 5. It's 5,
Yes,
105.
I'm sorry.
An ordinance granting a variation to allow a patio in the side yard as is set before you, but with the added condition that the side yard, that the patio include a buffer of landscaping that is at least 4 feet tall and is maintained as such.
Yes.
so moved.
Move to second. Will the clerk please pull the board?
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Conley.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madey.
Aye.
Trustee Daley.
Aye.
Just to clarify, I have no
No nays,
problem.
motion carries.
Yeah, I have no problem with the landscaping around the sidewalk. That wouldn't have to be 4 foot tall. If you have, shrubs or rose bushes or something small, many people have a sidewalk that goes around their house, and if you want to landscape, I'm just concerned that you have this higher barrier around the patio itself.
And the way it was crafted,
Yeah,
it just
that's
applies to the
exactly what
patio.
you said.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want you to think you had to do 4 foot or everything that you've drawn here.
Okay. Thank you, thank you.
Now,
Motion to
Motion
adjourn.
carries.
Motion to approve is in order.
We made it.
Motion carried with the condition, and now we have to move to the items that were tabled from the consent agenda, which include 5C and B and C, excuse me, and then 8, I believe, E and F.
A motion is in,
No, not yet.
You dropped something, man.
You could also restate your name and address, just for the record.
Hello, my name's Mindy Algis. My address is 1626 North Chestnut Avenue in Arlington Heights, Illinois. As I spoke before, the drainage plans that are currently in consideration of the property that is for Andy's Custard and Little Sunshine Playhouse is adjacent to several townhomes in the Maribel community. And the plans were based on the WMRD 2014 required regulations. And I don't think that they're adequate anymore for the exceptional rainfalls that we've been experiencing in recent years. And I'd like them to be reevaluated, the plans to be reevaluated, and that they might accommodate for future heavier rainfalls so that they will be preventing flooding from the homes that are surrounding the development.
I think previously you'd also mentioned a fence that you would like to have extended further.
Yes,
You
on
wanna
the
mention that to
south.
the board as well.
Yes, thank you. On the south side of the property, there's going to be a privacy fence surrounding the entire development. And there's going to be a lot of traffic, possibly 400 to 500 cars per day going in and out of the property. And they are currently in the direct line of some homeowners that there will be a nuisance with the lights going in and out on a daily basis from possibly till 12 o'clock at night, because Andy's Custard was passed that they could stay open till 12 o'clock at night. So, this is 7 days a week, having nuisance lights coming in and out of your house daily. I just don't think that people get the quiet enjoyment of their properties this way. So we would like to ask if they could extend the fence line 20 feet from the right-of-way, and that might help soften those problems.
Does that conclude your concerns?
Well, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Julie, do you want to address those concerns? And we'll also hear from the zoning board.
All right, Plan Commission, right?
So I can address, I'll take the detention first. There's detention provided per village ordinance and per the MWRD watershed ordinance. That accommodates for a couple things. It's provided separately on the Andy's Custard site and on the Little Sunshine site. The detention actually for the properties was designed many years ago and flows through the Mirabelle development. It was master designed around the time or at the same time possibly that Mirabelle was developed. But what they do have to provide is volume control. So the new watershed ordinance requires kind of, it's think of it as like your first flush like that, you first get that rainfall and it kind of like can maybe overwhelm the system. And so they have to provide for that on site. And then it's a restricted flow down into the basins that were designed many years ago to accommodate for development of those sites. Our engineering division and community development has reviewed the calculations and the design, and they meet both village requirements and the MWRD requirements. We were made aware at the public hearing for these projects that there are some existing drainage concerns on the Mirabelle condominium properties, and we have since provided some pictures of those. I don't have detailed information about them, but planning staff has been in contact with the association. They have said, the management company in particular has said that they are aware of those. They are working on a plan to address them. I don't have details of the plan, but it doesn't seem, in staff's opinion, something that is tied or should be addressed as part of this development. They do seem to be separate issues. The second issue is the fence.
Can I just ask a question on the drainage? So Ms. Elga suggested that the 2014 MWRD standards are in some way outdated, or there are more modern standards that we should be applying to this project?
Not that I'm aware of, and it's the opinion of the community development engineer that there are not different standards that should be provided. I spoke with him earlier today.
So we're using the most recent standards in terms of considering this development?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the old
Trustee Connolly.
standards under which Mirabelle was developed, and then the fact that today the water just goes overland into low areas and drains into Mirabelle. With the new development,
It goes into a pipe and then eventually makes its,
but the land is sort of flat there, and it just sort of, with the new development, it will be channeled correctly and more directly to a pipe that will go into Mirabelle. But in addition to that, the 2014 and earlier standards put this flow control in, which should help it also go at a more controlled rate than it might today.
Well, currently, there's no control on the
Right.
site. So currently, it's control, there's nothing holding the water
Right.
on the site. So that's, I think, the biggest difference here. The drainage actually makes its way down into a larger basin that's on Schaumburg Road, west and behind the Home Depot. So it's a Schaumburg Park District, you're probably familiar with it,
Outland
owned
Park.
basement there.
In the Outland Park area, yeah.
Trustee Kozak.
The drainage issue that's happening out there with the townhomes and that back there, this again is like we entered into a lot of other subdivisions where as people grow in their yards and that, and they change their backyards, they put in the gardens, they put in the decorating, the shrubbery and stuff like that, they change the grades and everything like that, and of course the swells are changed and everything else, and the water changes a whole different direction from what was actually set in there by the developer to move out of there. So, I mean, if it's dumping into this property over at Peapod now, or whatever it's over there right now that we just annexed, I mean, how are we gonna handle that, what's, somebody else has changed and, has arbitrarily found a new flow, let's say, to get out of that property over there that's west of our property that we just annexed. So now we're gonna have to absorb that water to get that dispersed out of there? That's gonna be our problem?
Well, it's it's private property, so it's just like any other private drainage issue, be it a single-family property or commercial or multifamily property, where if they have an issue that maybe it's settlement over time, maybe it's something else, I don't really know this evening to talk intelligently about it, but whatever it is, it's their responsibility to address it.
Okay, thank you.
So with respect to that issue, though, now that we've been made aware of that concern, we will have staff take a look at it, compare to the as-built plans, and determine if the association would need to make any corrections or changes.
Yes, and we've reached out to the association and have started those conversations following the zoning hearing.
Thank you.
Question, Julie?
Trustee Sullivan?
So the retention box, whatever we want to call it, has a 6-inch pipe leading out to the sewer?
It's my understanding it's a 6-inch pipe, but I don't want to get into real details on the design of that, not being an engineer.
Is that sufficient, do you think?
Our engineer has reviewed it, and it does meet the ordinance requirements.
Okay.
Trustee Dunham?
I have no problem with extending the fence if the comment is that, to block the headlights of cars and so forth, but I'm curious as to where you get the estimate of 400 to 500 cars a day. That's pretty heavy. And I'm just wondering how you arrived at that number.
There's 132 children that are expected to go to. There's 100.
Do you want to come up and use the microphone? We have people that may be watching at home.
My understanding, there's 132 children that will be attending the school. There's 20 employees per day. So if they go in and out, that's, 150 cars, so that's 300 cars per day. And I'm assuming that Andy's Custard will be popular and that there's probably another 100 to 200 cars going in and out of that lot per day as well.
I see. Thank you.
Julie, do you want to address the fence and whether that's something staff would endorse?
Yeah, the fence currently on the south property line is approximately 40 feet from the right-of-way on Barrington Road, or the property line on Barrington Road, per the plans that are in your packet. The code actually requires it to be 30 feet, so it should be 30 feet. In order to extend it closer than 30 feet, and the resident is suggesting approximately 20 feet, would require a variation from the village zoning ordinance. And because publication was not made on that variation, in order to entertain that, republication would have to occur, and that would have to go back to the Zoning Board of Appeals for consideration.
However, the 30-foot is
The
doable.
30-foot, staff would endorse, and it is code, and that could, that actually is a condition that staff is recommending tonight. That was included on the cover sheet for your packet. There's,
Trustee Daly?
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Just clarification. So when I look at this plan here, it shows a line with some marks across it. This is the fence, right?
yes,
Right there, okay. So where it stops, you're saying is how far from the right-of-way?
40 feet approximately.
40 feet. So if it was 30 feet, in other words, 10 feet closer to the right-of-way, does it
Correct.
require any rehearing?
No, because 30 feet is actually what
Well,
it should have been
okay,
shown
and
on the plans
So where it
originally.
shows on the plans right now is it stops at basically the drive aisle already for traffic that would be looping through.
Correct.
So in theory, you shouldn't get any lights from there. Adding another 10 feet will actually ensure that it won't happen. Plus, according to this, it looks like there's going to be trees, bushes, all sorts of landscaping that goes in that buffer, which is 25 feet. So from the parking lot to the fence is going to be 25 feet in depth, according to this. And that's going to be all landscaped.
It is. There's actually a part of staff's analysis of it as well included the landscaping on the Maribel property, and there's a large berm in that area on the Maribel property, just south, like at the southeast corner of the Little Sunshine property, that's quite tall and has landscaping on top of it, which should also mitigate some of the lights.
Okay, so between the landscaping, if we agree to extend the fence by 10 feet closer towards the right-of-way, that shouldn't be any problem.
Staff believes that the 10 feet will be adequate.
Trust- Yeah, ZBA, Chair, please come forward.
If I can correct one thing I said earlier, Mr. Townsend asked a question about the detention, and now that I'm thinking about it, the specific question is whether we were using the most current standards. Now, the answer is yes, but just to get technical, the MWRD ordinance sometimes have different standards if the detention is already provided for in an existing basin. And so I would want to clarify that, and I don't know whether, if this were built today, if a little more detention would be required or not. I'm not prepared tonight to say that it wouldn't, but it does meet the requirements under the ordinance.
Thank you.
Harry Ramondi, Chairman of the Zoning Board. On this hearing, when the residents came forward, their concerns were with the drainage. And they were told by us that the drainage would not get worse. So not that we were going to fix their problems, that it would not get worse. So that is in the minutes. Also, there was no, the association had no problems with this development, either one, the Andes or the daycare. As far as the fencing, that was not addressed at our hearing, so that's new. Okay?
I don't understand the fence business at all. So the fence, as shown on the plans that we have, is not at the property line. Is that correct?
It sits on the south property line, but like the common property line between Little Sunshine and Maribel, but the code requires it to extend 30 feet, to be located 30 feet from the Barrington Road right-of-way. So rather than going all the way east to the right-of-way, it's about 40 feet from the property line, from the eastern property line
okay.
now. And
So this is not the fence along the west side of the property?
no, it's on the south side.
We're talking about just the fence on the south side of the property?
Correct.
And extending it further?
10 more feet.
East
Okay,
towards
now
Barrington
I got
Road.
it.
That's
Okay.
not what I understood.
Okay.
So I'm confused. So what I was pointing to was the fence that's on the west side of the property.
Yeah.
That extends the length of the west property line.
There's no possible way to extend that fence.
Not south, no.
So this doesn't show a fence on here.
We have to look at the one for Sunshine and not the one for Andes, I think.
Okay,
I was looking at Andes, and I think you were
that's
too.
what I was looking
There is a fence proposed, as my understanding, along the entire west property line.
That's easy to see.
How far is that fence located to the north? How far to Old Church Road does it go? It goes all the way to Old Church Road?
Exactly, as far as it can by the woods.
Okay.
We agree to extend to the east as well.
It says here.
What he's saying is that the petitioner would agree to extend it to the east, the 20 feet, in consultation with legal counsel. The advice and the recommendation is that it does require a public hearing, and so renotification would have to be made. It would have to go back to the Zoning Board of Appeals to consider that.
It's possible to extend it here without sending it back, but only to the extent the code would allow it. Because the extra 10 feet goes beyond what's allowed by the code, there would have needed to be an additional notice of that in the publication, and there was not. So no one would have an expectation that a non-code fence was in the realm of possibility.
This was not discussed at the Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. I should clarify that the property owner that came forward tonight from Maribel, who is concerned, met with village staff from engineering and planning and community development after the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting before this meeting to sit down one-on-one and answer some questions about the development, and the suggestion about the fence came out of that.
Trustee Conley.
Looking at this, and I'm looking at sheet 5 of 13 on the sunshine, I would agree that it would be okay to move the fence 10 feet further toward Barrington Road, but I wouldn't want it to go much past that, because then that affects the sight lines, both walking and driving, particularly driving north to south. If someone, was coming out of the townhouses or something. But moving it the 10 feet closer, and if the developer is okay with that, I think that would be an okay adjustment to make this evening.
And the petitioner is okay with that?
Yes. Right?
Further
I think we're
questions?
ready to entertain a motion.
Further questions, comments? The motion's in order?
The motion would be to accept the recommendations of the Zoning Board of Appeals and to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 18-105 and 10,
Six.
sorry, 6 and 7?
Yeah,
Right.
6 and 7.
Okay, I got some. 106 and 107.
Yeah.
And that would be to, upon annexation, to approve a special use for a type C restaurant, special use for drive-through setback variation, landscape variation, drive-through stacking variation, drive-through hours variation, variation for an additional menu board and plat of easement for Andy's Frozen Custard under 106, and under ordinance 107, to grant a site plan approval, new construction, rezoning from R6 PUD to B2, special use for a daycare facility, setback variation, landscape variation, and plat of easement for Little Sunshine's Playhouse and preschool, and also add as a condition the extension of the fence on the east property line, south property line, going east by 10 more feet than is called for in the plans that are on file. Same material, same fencing.
A motion's in order.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Would the clerk please poll the board?
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Conley.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madey.
Aye.
Trustee Daly.
Aye.
6 aye votes, no nays, motion carries. Comments from the audience?
Could you give us our opportunity about Andy's Custard's hours?
Yes?
I wanted to talk about the hours.
I thought you guys were doing it separate.
It's comments from the audience, so you can approach the podium and make your comments.
My name is Cheryl Pitts. I live at 379 Hunter Dunn Court, which backs up to Andy's Custard. We don't have a problem with Andy's Custard going in or Little Sunshine. The concern is the hours of operation and that they are being extended to 11:30 and 12 o'clock at night. Myself and several of my other colleagues that live in that unit, I have to be up at 5 a.m. And if you'll grant me this.
Thank you.
Yeah, just, I don't need one.
The reason that I printed this out is there are other entities on Barrington Road that close at 10 o'clock. Baskin & Robbins, as well as Dairy Queen. The other concern, if you look farther into the packet, it was brought up at the last hearing that people were comparing Andy's Custard to Sonic with the fact that they had a drive-through also and an outdoor seating area. If you look at the last page in the deck, the last page is a satellite picture, and it shows how far away the actual residential area is from the actual Sonic drive-through and the Sonic property. If the second to the last page, where the red line is where the proposed drive-through is supposed to be going in. That is much closer to the residents than at Sonic. And we don't have a problem with it, it's just the extended hours. Because several of us, when it's nice out, I slept with my windows open the other day. I still can hear Thornton's intercom at times because it's, it's quiet out. But this will inhibit my ability to sleep at night. If somebody's honking the horn, the windows are open. And the other component is, if you look at Weber Grill that's on Meacham Road, you require Weber Grill's outdoor patio to close at 10 o'clock for a noise ordinance when there is no residential around that. And this literally backs up, I can throw a stone from my bedroom to the parking lot. And it's just too close to have those late hours. That's the biggest concern that myself and the other homeowners have with regards to Andy's Custard.
Julie, can you address this issue and what was discussed at ZBA, and if this is something that the board can restrict under the code, or if it applies to the special use?
The variation is for the drive-through hours. So the drive-through requires a special use. The hours are limited to shutting down at 10 o'clock if it's within 150 feet of residential property. This is obviously within 150 feet. The property is adjacent to residential property. Staff supported the variation for the drive-through hours to extend it to midnight to coincide with the business hours for a couple reasons. The drive-through is about 145 feet from the property line. So while it does fall under the restriction, it isn't right next to the property line. It's close to the 150 feet away. But more importantly, there's no menu board speaker box at this business. You pull up and you order the actual customer interface at the pickup window. So that, in our minds, made it uniquely different than other drive-throughs where you have the speaker box, which has a tendency to be quite loud and kind of carry through the night. So the fact that they would just be speaking to someone through an exterior window was the primary reason that it was supported. The business itself has no restriction on the hours of operation. It could operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so I believe there was some discussion about the zoning board, and Harry Ramondi is here, can speak to that, but about the possibility that car doors opening and shutting could potentially be just as loud as somebody speaking and ordering in a drive-through.
Trustee Dunham.
Julie, what would be to prevent them from complying, going in without, as you say, a speaker box, and then coming back later and asking for the speaker?
You could put a specific condition in the special use. I believe that, and I'll defer to Mr. Molina, but I would believe that that would be something that would be uniquely different, and if the variation relied on it, then it would be part of the special use.
Yeah, correct. I mean, the way it was presented here, if it was part of the plan and the variation included, there was no amplification, then if they wanted amplification, is my opinion, they would have to come back. It doesn't need to be a specific condition because the variation only goes to the extent that is being requested.
Okay. So we can put language in there that speaker boxes are not ever going to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's arguably not necessary because the variation doesn't ask for amplified drive-through. The plans only include, is that correct? It's clear, they don't include an amplified.
Correct, they do not include.
So they're not asking for that would be a greater variation,
Yeah,
right?
but
You
if we
can't-
restrict it now, that means that stops them from coming back later.
No.
No?
Anybody
still
can ask
ask.
for a
They can still
variation.
ask, all right.
Yeah, there's no There's no, you can't hem in a property owner that way in the future. You can say no, but they have, and they do have to come back. They have to go through that expense and publish and send notice and all that.
Thank you.
Zoning Board Chair. Harry Reminder.
There was discussion on this, and the thought was from the zoning board that if the drive-through is available, there are no speakers, that was already discussed, and that there would be less noise with cars pulling up, speaking to someone to place their order, rather than parking and going in. They can't even go in. There's no inside seating in here, so it's all outside seating, obviously summertime. Place their order, get back in their car. Well, if they're not getting out of their car and slamming doors at 10:30, 11:30 at night, and they're just using the drive-through, that would be less noise that could be concerned by, with the residents. And also, the Association for Maryville had no problem with either one of these hearings when they came before us.
There's a motion on the floor.
No, the motion already passed. You just allowed public comment and allowed some addressing of that public comment.
Is there anybody else in the audience that wants to address this issue? I think it's to the pleasure of the board.
Good evening. My name's Rick Bitter. I live at 376 Glen Levin, and I actually am the board president for Maribel.
Sign in, please.
What's that?
Name and
Sign
address
in,
so the
please.
clerk has the specifics for the minutes.
Okay, think I'm in. So I did want to make sure that the outdoor patio does actually close at 10, because that's some of the concerns I've had from owners, not so much with the drive-through, because that seems like it had a plan to manage noise, but if you had a set of people going to the drive-through, getting out, hanging out in the patio till 10:30, 11, 12, that might have had some issues. So was that in or out?
I'm not familiar with, I'm not familiar with the requirement for the patio to close at 10, so I'd have to look into that, unless I don't think the petitioner was proposing for it to close at 10, correct?
Good evening.
Trustee Daly has a question.
Trustee Daly.
So according to this drawing, correct me if I'm wrong, just so I make sure I understand, the patio is on the east side of the building, on the Barrington Road side, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so, and it doesn't carry around to the west side of the building near the homeowners?
I mean, I suppose it could, but it,
Well, not according to the drawing, it's just showing on the east side of the building. So
oh, I'm
potentially-
sorry, I thought you meant does the sound carry
No,
around?
the-
No, the drive-through's on the west side of the building.
Patio is on the east side of the building.
Yes.
The same side as Barrington Road.
Yes.
So there'll be as much noise coming from Barrington Road as there is from the patio. Or potentially worse, especially in the summer with the crowd traffic. Okay, thank you.
Sir, do you want to talk to the board about the hours of operation and what your plans are at that location?
Certainly. Chad Wilkie, Andy's Frozen Custard, 1360 Briarwood Drive in Naperville, Illinois. So we, Memorial Day to Labor Day, we are open 11 a.m. Sunday through Thursday until 11:30 p.m. and then on the weekends, Friday, Saturday till midnight. Now, Labor Day until next Memorial Day, we close at 11 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. respectively. So, and that includes the patio and the drive-through.
So is there a difference in the hours of operation between the drive-through and the walk-up?
No, they're correlated together. They run in tandem.
Thank you.
Further questions, comments?
So action's already been taken, so unless there's a desire to reconsider anything with a motion, we're done with that.
Council report from the,
Yes, we have need of a closed session to discuss collective bargaining. And so I'll be asking for a motion to do that and also to discuss acquisition of real property. And so I'll be asking for a motion for those two reasons at the close of our regular business. We will not be reconvening at the close of our closed session, and so there'll be no action taken after the board adjourns into closed session.
Actually,
Council report?
Is that?
we do need to come out. to
Oh,
approve
for
an
the
item
land,
related
oh,
to
I'm
land
sorry,
acquisition.
I had only, so we will be reconvening, but only on the issue, and assuming how the discussion goes, on the land acquisition component. And there is an item on your agenda.
I assume you have council report. You've given it already several
Yes.
times. Okay.
Right.
President's report, I have no report. Manager's report, you.
I just have one item I want to mention. This weekend on Saturday is the firefighters' annual softball tournament. Looks like the weather is going to be beautiful. This is a great event. All of the money raised here either goes to the Burn Center at Loyola or to the Schaumburg Township Food Pantry. Even if you don't like softball, there's a lot of things to do there, a lot of good food, a lot of good things to drink, raffle, other things. So please come out, support the firefighters of this charitable endeavor. That concludes my report.
New business to come before the board? Unfinished business? Trustee comments and mentions? Hearing none, motion to adjourn is in order?
Yes, we need a motion to go into closed session.
That was the motion.
In accordance with Section 2C5 of the Open Meetings Act, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, and under Section 2C2 of the Open Meetings Act, to discuss collective bargaining matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives.
A motion's in order?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded with the clerk poll the board.
Yes.
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Conley.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madey.
Aye.
Trustee Daly.
Aye.
6 ayes, votes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, folks.
Again, to correct myself, we will be coming out at the close of closed session and reconvene.
You would think
Oh, good Lord.
coming out of the custard. Gee.
What a session. You sure we got everything? Hey, Jack?
Yep.
Yeah. I'll catch him upstairs. Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. I signed it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, cool. Okay, all right.
Dozens and dozens of It's under the minutes rule. Take care. Did you hear that? Yes. Wow. I sure did. Wow.
Just ask. For the next barbecue. Jesus. When you said that, I went, oh, Jesus.
I was like, I might get cats, so.
Well, it is true. It's damning if you reduce it.
So I sent Carmen a note that I would pick you up for the German luncheon at, the airport. Okay, and then I just sent her a note that Bill and I would pick you up at home for the, concert at the Prairie Center and the reception. And Bill and I will take you. It's, the concert's like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then there's a reception.
Weather, and I can't enjoy any of it.
I know, but how did you know?
Hey, how did Sean Dorsey do? Did you hear from Alan at all?
I didn't, he wasn't back,
Yeah.
when I left for here.
We'll
He may
find
have
out.
just, he said he'd be in tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll catch up.
Yeah, I met with him though, with Alan beforehand. I'll try to
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he spent a lot of
Yeah, we had like a
Before you
tour
sit down.
today.
Before you sit down.
I vote
Sure.
aye.
Yeah, go ahead.
Put me down as an aye.
Right ahead.
Get out.
So was Sean sharply dressed? Yeah, he is. Very sharp dressed man.
If we're staying, you're staying.
He'll be fine, his deposition.
Yeah. Well, plus he does not know a lot of details.
Sorry. Call the meeting order with the secretary of, take a roll call.
Trustee Kozak?
Here.
Trustee Conley? Here. Trustee Sullivan?
Present.
Trustee Dunham?
Here.
Trustee Madey?
Present.
Trustee Daly?
Present.
President Larson?
Here.
So having come out of closed session, we now need a motion to approve expenditures for the National Parkway, Plum Grove Road to Gulf Road improvements for a land acquisition settlement with Sparrowhawk Chicago Industrial LP
Nice name.
of Houston, Texas.
So moved.
Second.
And just for the record, this is in the amount of $69,500.
Thank you.
Any further business to come before the?
Roll call.
We need a roll call.
Trustee Kozak?
Aye.
Trustee Conley?
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan?
Aye.
Trustee Dunham? Trustee Madey?
Aye.
Trustee Daly?
Aye.
6 aye votes, no nays, motion carries. Any further items to come before the committee of the whole,
For the village board?
the village board? AKA,
Motion to close.
Second.
would have seconded with the,
All in favor?
clerk, please pull the board.
Trustee Kozak?
Aye.
Trustee Conley?
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan?
Aye.
Trustee Dunham?
Aye.
Trustee Madey?
Aye.
Trustee Daly?
Aye.
6 aye votes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you, folks.
Board is adjourned.
Motion to close.
Motion to close. Motion to close it up. Close the proceeding.
You can even think about it, Jack.
Motion to flush.
I want a frozen custard, that's what I want.
I'm going there at 11:25 every night to get a custard.
And slam the door shut.
I'm gonna visit my bladder.
Okay, I'll be here. Okay. Every night I'm gonna go there at 11:25 and slam my car door a couple of times and hoot and holler just to see if she